Convoy.
All right. It was like it
And
happened so
sudden. And at first we're
it's
like,
very competitive.
who is this Convoy?
Yeah. What?
And why are they always so
beating
cheap?
me?
Freight Waves has heard from other sources that there may be some more coming. Some more mid-sized brokerages going out of business.
California Trucking Association.
And the other part, the WARE program.
I remember the first time I heard of it, I was like, what? We try to do our best to be involved with the community as much as possible. For us, it's been the youth. Shout out to all the mentors. Shout out to EXP.
And it's really good to see what other generations are thinking.
The Franco Scholarship.
Like I'm walking in, I'm famous here, and then, that wasn't the case at all.
Do a little clap before you start.
You do it, my arm hurts.
You clap in front of the mic, not the other front.
The other front. Oh.
I think that was a little loud.
That was pretty good. All right. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the LTL podcast. I'm Isao Torres, and this is
Eric Lopez.
All right. So look, we're on third episode here today. So we're moving this thing along.
It's
promised
happening.
And
It's
here we
happening.
are. And we have laptops now, or we have iPads now. So this thing,
We're getting sophisticated.
it gets more legit as the weeks go on. So this episode, well, first and foremost, I want to go ahead and say thank you all for watching. Thank you all for hopping on either Spotify or YouTube, wherever it is that you are listening to this podcast. Again, thank you so much. If you haven't already subscribed, liked the videos, favorite us on Spotify, we really do appreciate it. That really is going to help us kind of continue and push this thing growing.
Do
So
they have thumbs up on Spotify?
you know what, Dran?
Give us a thumbs up.
We have thumbs up on Spotify.
Not sure.
Okay, so you have
Follow.
follows, and probably there's like a heart somewhere. So if you see a heart, hit the heart.
That's a
All
good
right.
thing.
Let us know. Let us know that we're actually, that we should be,
Entertaining,
that we should be.
informing.
I think the biggest thing is informing in some way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, entertaining, hopefully. So this episode, we're going to be talking about quite a bit, actually. So a lot of things have come up. We're going to be talking about, of course, the thing that everybody's talking about is Convoy.
Convoy.
All right. Convoy. We're also going to be talking about a few things in the trucking side of things. A few things that have come up over the last few days regarding the CTA and the Advanced Clean Fleet Rule. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We might talk about a little bit of the WARES program.
Yep.
For those of you who don't know what that is, we're going to get into that a little bit.
So, something similar, but for warehouses.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's coming. It's coming.
It's coming. Yeah, it's coming. And then, of course, we have our general topics for the episode, which this episode we're actually going to talk about community involvement. How to get, what we do in terms of our community, what maybe you should do or you should attempt to do, and some organizations that we work with. And I think that's going to be a very exciting one. Talk about a few things that we've done in the past few years. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about, with that community involvement, we're going to talk a little bit about our scholarship, the Franco Scholarship, which is extremely exciting.
Yeah.
Really cool thing that we did.
And I think we're going to be expanding on that this year.
I hope so.
We'll see how it goes.
Well, I hope so. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our relationship, like I said, to a couple organizations that we work with to kind of help us continue to help the youth, right? That's generally the biggest part of it.
Help the youth in terms of employment, in terms of
Knowledge.
Yeah. See what kind of
Opportunity.
industries they want to go into, and logistics tends to be one that many people don't know of, but then, they come to find out that it's actually interesting.
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna go ahead and talk about. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. But before we do, of course, we've already started it since last week, so we have to go back into it, right? Fantasy week. All right. So the last episode, what was I? I was
0-4.
I would like to share with everyone that I am now 1-5. 1-5, baby.
And are you projected to win this week?
No, I'm not. But still, I'm 1-5. I think this week will do well. I have a lot of buys, a lot of people that are not going to be giving me much points, but you know what? I'm hopeful for the year. I think I just got to win the next 8,
Oh, then
and I think
just,
and I think I'll
just.
be in the run.
I am 2-5, so I'm not too far from you,
Okay,
but I am projected to win this week,
yeah, but projections don't. Let's be honest.
and
Projections don't mean anything.
they don't.
Actually, and let me tell you why.
Well,
I've been
not even
project.
talk to a bank. Now
Okay.
projections mean
Yeah,
everything.
okay, that's true. But let me tell you why projections mean nothing in fantasy. For the first 4 weeks, I was projected to destroy, and I'm 0-4. I was 0-4, and then I was projected to lose, and I won. So that's that's saying a lot about the sleeper projection. So if you're out there using the sleeper app, I mean, yeah,
I like that app.
to each their own.
It
All
tells
right.
when it tells me I'm gonna win, I
Yeah,
actually win.
gives you a little what's it
It's
called?
it's true to me.
It makes you feel good coming in on Tuesday.
Oh,
You're like,
definitely.
oh, you know what? I'm gonna win next week. Feels good. Doesn't turn out
Yep.
that way. All right, so let's go ahead and get into today's topics. Okay, so Convoy. All right, so this is the recent news section, right? So Convoy. Let's talk a little bit about Convoy. So, you probably know a little bit more than I do on the Convoy situation. I mean, what do you think? It's kind of nuts.
So it's very very unexpected for such a company like Convoy to just close its doors
Feels like it
and
happened so
it
like
just like so sudden. I think that's been the biggest uh biggest reason why it's so a trending topic, apart from
yeah,
obviously just it
yeah.
being any bankruptcy in this space is obviously we're gonna hear about it and we're gonna know. But um it just happened so suddenly,
Yeah.
right? And I think I was reading a different article on freight waves in regards to just brokerages in general.
Well, before let's why don't you tell them who Convoy is? If
Okay.
for whatever reason they don't know who Convoy is, I think for the most part, if you're in logistics, you know who Convoy is. But just for those who
So
don't, who is
Convoy
Convoy?
Convoy is a brokerage. It's a freight brokerage. But their biggest thing was being a tech freight brokerage, right? So they utilized something similar, like if anyone has ever worked with Uber Freight, um, a similar platform where you can just go online, go on their website, type a pickup location, a deliver location, you get a quote right away. Very smooth, very easy. You book your load and you enter shipment details. Boom. Next day, you got a carrier. It's all set up. Your
Mm,
load gets delivered. Prices are very competitive. So it was a very convenient platform for a lot of shippers.
yeah, I know
Um,
I know there was a lot of um times where we would quote something out and then we would get back like, oh, Convoy has this rate, and you're
yeah,
just
and
like,
and at first we're
it's
like,
very
wait,
competitive.
who is this convoy?
Yeah, what?
And why are they always
Why are they always
so
beating
cheap?
me? And how are they getting it so fast? Yeah, no, true. But yes, but they were tech based,
Correct.
right? So they, I'm assuming they had a lot of backing, right? A lot of
Yeah.
because right. I mean, because it's a very obviously when you start getting involved with tech. I mean, we talked about it last episode when it came to like AI and things like that. It's very costly on the tech side of things. Obviously, it's probably the biggest reason why it's not so
Common.
so common for people to just do it, right? So I'm assuming they probably had a lot of like backing, a lot of like
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say there was quite a bit of venture capitalists that got in on this and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's very attractive in a sense for fund to get funding because it's new in the
ooh, and
space and
yeah,
that
no,
sort of
for
thing.
sure.
Like I always say, that I think our industry is super outdated, and
Yeah,
any move
yeah,
or
yeah.
any
Just
stride
all feels
towards
exciting.
towards technology is just super exciting.
Yeah.
So I can see in many ways how um platform like Convoy would get so big, would grow so fast, and then I mean, unfortunately, go out of business. But
Do you know what? And I'm assuming it has a lot to do with that with the fact there was a lot of investors involved. It has to be, right? Because normally normally you don't get I mean, normally a broker doesn't have so much of a cost, or it doesn't have so much of like a
Right.
crazy
So
overhead or
so that's what I was gonna get into with this article that I was reading on freight waves. It really had to do with how brokerages and mind you, let me just put this out there now. Freight waves has heard from other sources that there may be some more coming. Some more
more
mid-size brokerages going out of business.
You hate to see it.
So so then that sparks the question, and this is
Why is
where
it
this
happening?
article gets a little bit more into detail that it's not a convoy problem necessarily. It's an industry or a freight brokerage business model problem,
Mm,
right? One of those things was capital, the cost of capital. As we all know, interest rates have gone to the highest point in many decades, and that has caused um, the funding obviously to get more expensive because and then given the combination of the market that we're in
yeah,
where the spot market and the contracts rates are getting
low.
merging closer together, it opens up that avenue for brokerages to fail and margins to slim and the cost of borrowing to just get more expensive. So one of the biggest parts in that was this thing called an asset-based line of credit, right?
Okay.
So brokerages will put up their receivables or what they expect to receive
Mhm.
up as for collateral,
Like, okay.
right? And they'll get funding based off of that. Now, when the margins get slimmer, then they break the covenants of their funding
Mhm.
rules, and now the banks or
They
whoever
get
funded
margin
them
call.
get a margin call, in a sense.
Mm. And then they're forced to try to look for someone to help, 'cause that's something that I had heard that Convoy was doing, which was obviously attempting to try to get some sort of either buyout or some sort of get someone else involved to put in more capital in a time where nobody wants to
Invest in
invest into anything.
correct.
That's so it's a it and you that reminds me of kind of like another industry. There's another industry that is like, I mean, there's a lot going on in like, the gaming industry. If you follow gaming in any shape, way, or form, that industry
I don't,
of
so
like the
inform me.
yeah, yeah, I'll give you a little info. So like the esport industry,
Mhm.
right? Same thing happened where it's like, there was a lot of businesses, a lot of things that were happening, a lot of new growth, like franchising and all this crazy stuff, where companies were starting to pay hefty salaries to people who were playing and all that. That's why you started seeing like people were making crazy money
Right.
playing video
Yeah.
games, right? And a lot of VC money started coming in. You started
Right.
seeing investors like Drake and these different VC companies coming in to the space, and now you're just seeing them crumble. Everyone's
Right.
falling apart. The biggest, biggest one, I don't know, is this Phase Clan that went public throughout all this stuff, and I mean, their stock went from 19 to I think like 30 cents. So
Wow.
it's just a crumble in that space where I think it's very kind of similar. It's just VC funding was there for the last 3 years. Everyone wanted to know what to invest in,
Right,
and
and
now,
the other thing about this article that it really does go a little bit in depth, as to, like, because now, I mean, I just brought fear into everyone's mind, like,
right?
"Oh, wow."
Oh
But
my god,
I
right.
do wanna point out there is a silver lining. That silver lining is if you if you had a freight brokerage or you have a freight brokerage, that made money and
Mhm.
is funded in this same type of way, if you saved that money,
Right, rather
um
than
rather than spend it on unnecessary expenses, um, and are not particularly trying to grow and
mhm,
use that funding for growth, you may be in better shape because the problem was Convoy was using those funds to continue growing.
right.
And by looking for that growth with this, these borrowed funds,
Yeah.
they went into a market that obviously wasn't going to support that, and then this, brought the demise.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And this whole idea, and of course it's not to fearmonger in any way. Obviously, we don't know what's gonna happen, but you're that potentially, more might be coming and things like that. I mean, it is alarming. It does, but again, I agree with you in terms of the silver lining. I mean, not just if you're one of those companies. If you're a company like, for instance, like ours, right? We're not VC funded and things
Well,
like that, but so we operate on a much slimmer, on a much smaller scale. So does that provide opportunity um, for brokerages like ours?
I think that's really gonna depend on how the spot
Hmm.
market and the contract rates and how that goes for the next couple months, because I believe October, November is, bidding season, contract rates get
Right.
renegotiated and all
And
that
what
stuff.
happens in a situation? And again, right, going back to that, right? Because I mean, this can happen to anybody, right? So you're now going into you're trying to get a bid, right, in a time where prices are really low. You end up getting a contract that's relatively low for the next 12 months, whatever the case may be. The spot market starts going
Improving.
back up and
Mhm.
you're kind of stuck in your contract, right? So I think that's also going to happen. I mean, as long as you can figure out a way to operate, with that, obviously that's you'll be fine.
Sure.
But I think that's something to
Yeah,
consider too.
it
So
definitely is.
whether it's time, whether you want to get into contracts or whether you want to get into spot market, I think they have their pros and cons. Either way, whichever
Yeah.
way you want to go.
One thing about just volumes and how things have been going, and another thing that just throw out there is the Port of Long Beach did announce that's September of this year. They saw
So is that what it was?
an
See,
11.8% increase from September of 2022.
2022. I mean,
And I think I want to say I put some notes here that I guess this month, September 2023, was even higher than September in COVID.
that's pretty good.
That is
That's
pretty
really
good.
good. I mean, it's probably my wife buying all the Christmas decorations, the Halloween decorations. Probably, I should probably contribute
I have seen a lot
ten
more
percent of that.
Halloween decorations just
Yeah,
out on the streets a little bit more than other years, but I don't know
yeah,
if it could be that.
yeah, could be. But you know what? That's a great sign because even September of last year, obviously, that was the same thing, right?
Right.
It's still an uptick from that time. So I think that's really good news, or that's promising news. I don't know what LA has seen. I didn't really look into that one. But that is good, good info to know.
Yes, there's some optimism in the market, I guess.
From all
You
that
know,
fear, now
from
let's
all the
bring a
fear,
little
let's just bring a
optimism.
little optimism,
So
something
ship them to
delightful.
Long Beach. I then we're gonna go back to something a little bit more, not it's not,
It's informative.
it's
Let's just put it
it's
that way.
informative, not necessarily fear mongering in any kind of way. So now, we have the California Trucking Association. It looks like they filed some sort of suit against, state of California for the advanced fleet. What is it? Advanced Clean Fleet, I guess what it's called. So for those of you who don't know what the Advanced Clean Fleet is, we'll give you a sort of vague, to be honest, sort of vague. So we obviously are very very uh, how do you say we're very involved with the trucking associations and everything they're pushing through. We try to go to these meetings to kind of see where truckers are at, see where their heads are at. A lot of our vendors, a lot of our people, a lot of the people that we know and really truly care about are in these obviously in this industry. So and on the trucking side as well. So we try to stay as close to it as possible.
Yep.
Um,
And regulations affect everyone. I mean,
yeah, 100%.
even if you're not directly impacted at some point,
Right.
um,
And this one specifically, this rule affects us, significantly because it is a lot of drayage. So it has to do a lot with the trucking side and the ports. So for those of you who don't know, the Advanced Clean Fleet is let me go is essentially a rule that was it's going to be taking effect January 2024. The rule is essentially that, and there's a lot more to it, but is essentially that you cannot register a internal combustion engine truck into the port after 2024 or
Right.
January of 2024. So not, I mean, we're talking a
Months.
months
Yeah.
away. Yeah, a
This
month and
is
a
a
half
couple
away.
months away.
So obviously that begs a very or it comes with a lot of fear to a lot of trucking companies where it's like, whoa, the trucks I have now, I mean, it limits my growth, so on and so forth. What they're requiring you to do here in California is for you can register new trucks. They just have to be zero emission.
Correct.
Obviously, we all know zero emission trucks pretty pricey. There's a lot of things that go into it that
Almost double the price.
almost double the price.
There
Yeah.
are grants available. There are,
Mhm.
funding available.
Right.
There are some options. The other part that some people have brought up have been, what about the insurance? Insurance still has to cover the actual price of the truck. So
Maintenance, infrastructure. I mean, there's so
yeah,
much that like
infrastructure is a really big one.
that just hasn't, or at least we haven't seen a lot of
Paths.
yeah, a lot of paths for it. I think that's a great way to say it. So essentially what the CTA has done is they are suing or they are attempting to create some sort of junction for this rule to maybe pause it. I don't think anyone's intention. I mean, I've been to the CTA meetings quite a bit, and nobody's really sitting there standing saying, "Clean. We don't want zero emissions." Of course,
Right.
everyone's on board with that idea. I think the question or the concerns here are the lack of infrastructure, the
That
lack of
we're not
just
ready
ready.
as an industry.
Right.
And even if we try to be ready, there are certain areas that are still not ready,
Right.
that are out of our control. And how can we you know, be put it in the I don't know, in the crossfire of this,
Yeah.
in the crosshair, if we really don't have control over the things we can't control,
Right.
you know?
And
And one
yeah.
of those things would be the infrastructure. I think that's a big part that
Mm.
everyone has been arguing about.
Right. And then, yeah, and then and so that is what is happening currently with the CTA. Not sure where that's going to go. We'll keep you, updated as to what's happening on that and on that front. But that's generally the idea of that suit. I think it's more of a junction. It's more of just a, hey, let's put a pause on this thing until we can figure out a better route or
You know
whatever
what?
the case may be.
Let's go a little bit into some of the reasons or some of the arguments that on
Mhm.
the trucking community, some of the arguments that are presented by the trucking community for those audiences that just say just do it. You guys got to do it.
Mhm.
Because I've heard personally some from people that don't fully understand the impact, right?
Right. Okay.
Of certain regulations. And I think this is a good one where you know, again, we all want to go green.
Right. I
It's
think
just a matter of what does it mean to do so with this type of regulation, right? So one of the issues that we mentioned, okay, the costs, right? With
mhm.
insurance going up, all that stuff going up. Some would argue that, you know, you guys are a trucking company, you guys are a business, you got to incur costs, you just got to make it up
Right,
somehow,
operating
some way.
costs, you just gotta
You got to figure it out. Okay, no problem there. Let's move forward.
yeah, no problem there.
The other, we won't make it a problem. Let's just
Yeah, there you go.
the other part to it though is uh getting electricity,
Yeah.
getting electricity, getting the trucks, and what's the other one, in relations to infrastructure?
Getting electricity, getting the truck.
I mean, those are the 2 big ones.
Yeah.
Mainly the 2 big ones. Trucks aren't readily available as
Yeah,
some
no,
people would
they're
think.
definitely not, and I mean, even like I said, even I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't fully. I know you've gotten a lot more into the trucking part of purchasing a truck. But the maintenance, I mean, what is that looking like? Does that look like you can just something happen to your battery, and now
Oh,
you're all of a sudden
the other component, the other component that is sometimes forgotten about, the weight of the batteries.
right?
The
So
weight
what does
of
that
the
look?
batteries and how that affects your
Uh-huh.
shipping operation. Now you gotta go to customers and say, "I can't pull that because it's too heavy, because
That's
my
true.
truck is too heavy." And, there's just other components to it, and I point this out just because nothing is ever clear as day, nothing is ever what
Right.
it seems. It's good to just learn and listen a little bit to, people in industries, people in the space to try to
Yeah.
get, you know, their take on things without feeling like we're just trying to avoid this because it's a cost.
Right.
That's not the case.
Right. No, of course. And then this is just uh a me thing, really. I haven't really seen. Obviously, it's a conversation, but I also truly believe it's just at the time where things are like, for instance, it's at the same time where the junction was removed on AB5 for truckers. So now you have this new addition of AB5 and making sure that everybody's an employee, so on and so forth, to at the same time, so you're trying to figure that out, and at the same time, you get this now you have to do this thing with your trucks, and you have to try to figure that out, and it's a lot happening in California, and I think in a very short time that I think, I think
Too many
it
components.
warrants
Yeah.
the CTA going and saying, "You know what? We need to let's try to get a pause on this thing." So we'll see
And
where
the
that
and the
goes.
other part, the WARE program. I mean, so
No,
it's moving on
absolutely.
into that. It's so for those that don't know what the WARE program is, it's
Which I don't think has anything to do with any of these lawsuits or anything like that.
no,
I'm not that one's still rampant, it's
it's
about to
yeah,
come in.
it's still. I've heard that there may be a lawsuit coming for that one as well. Um, but I'm not 100% sure yet how that's going to end up. But for those of you that don't know what the WARE program is, it's the indirect source rule that will have regulatory effect on warehouses,
Mhm.
and depending on the size of the warehouse will depend the year that the warehouse will have to comply. Um, and the compliance is based off of how many trucks go in and out of the warehouse,
I
out of the gate.
remember the first time I heard it, I was like, "What?"
And it's pretty much a way to kind of uh have warehouses
Offset, right?
force, not necessarily
Oh,
offset, but force, or put some pressure on the truckers to get,
right.
zero emissions. So you'll get accumulation of points, based on the quantity of trucks that go in and out
The zero
over a
emission
course of
trucks.
a
I mean,
year.
ICE trucks, right?
Not just IC,
Any truck.
it's we're gonna have to categorize every truck, but certain trucks get weighted a little bit
Mhm.
differently. Class 8
Oh,
being
right, right,
diesel
right, right.
trucks.
Right.
Diesel trucks, will get the highest point, you know, points that are
Mhm.
given, and these accumulation of points then translate to fines. So,
And those fines need to then be offsetted by some sort of effort to to, to I guess, for instance, let's give an example, right? So if you have X amount of trucks coming in, let's say you're going to be fined, or you're going to have 100,000 points, and
I wouldn't go that
I,
far.
I'm
Let's just say
okay,
300 points.
300 points. Okay, I think it was just a point, but 300 points, let's say. Um, Now, if you were to get like an EV station, that will
A charging
a charging
station,
station, like a
an
goat.
EV yard goat or
Mhm.
yard
A
hustler,
hustler, yeah.
installing solar panels on the building. Um, what other options are there? There's installation of like filters uh around schools and parks. that
Mhm.
you can do, sort of thing. So there's all these options. It's like a menu of things,
Right.
and certain things will offset
Accumulate points as
certain
well,
amount of
right?
points, and that way you can, balance out, and you're gonna have to balance out every year. If not, each point is like a $10,000 fine
Yeah.
per point.
So it's a pretty, extensive program, and again, if we just go back to just everything happening all at
All
once,
at once.
and I think that's necessarily or that's the question, right? That's the conflict, or that's uh, however you wanna call it, that's where it comes from. Not necessarily that nobody wants to do it, or we don't think that obviously, I have kids, right? So at the end of the day, if it means that I'm gonna have a better, you know, better air for my kids, obviously, I'm for it. It's just a matter of the complexities that go into that, I think make it a challenge, and I think,
Right.
warrant these types of junctions being put in
I
place.
think it almost seems like there isn't like sympathy on the other side, like that. I think that's a big thing to just, hey, we want to do this. Just, give us either a little bit of time,
Yeah.
or give us, stepping stones, as
Yeah.
opposed to just right away. It has to happen now in a course of a year, yada yada.
Yeah. I mean, well, if you go back to the clean truck, the advanced clean fleet rule, um, I guess they offered you some sort of they call it a milestone program. So they offer you some sort of stepping into it where it's if you have about 50 trucks or more, or if you're doing, I believe it's like 50 million in revenue or more, that you have to just comply in milestones. So for the year 2025, your fleet size has to be 10% zero emission, which is still, I mean, they're talking about 50 trucks or more. So you have to have five
Fine.
zero emission, vehicles in
Yeah.
order just to hit that milestone. It's a lot. So I think the milestone or the attempt was there. Maybe it was for just really large truckers, but it affects everyone. It affects,
Yeah, definitely.
there's a lot of the smaller guys that are making this thing move. The big guys
For
are
sure.
there, but everybody's helping making this thing move. So
Yep.
I think it affects everybody. And yeah, so that's essentially what's going on with the CTA. And hopefully we'll see what happens, right?
We'll see what happens.
And I don't know if you'll hear it here first, but you'll definitely hear it here. So, so kind of getting off of that the recent news of the industry, I kind of want to talk a little bit about, and this is kind of because it was a little recent as well for us, but um, community involvement and the important, right? Because we talk about, the fact that we want, better, we're for that better air, that clean air, all that, going green, things like that. Um, we're also we try to do our best to be involved with the community as much as possible,
Of course.
right? So for us, it's been the youth. That's been a huge for the past, at least since I've been here. I'm sure I know you guys did some stuff before as
Yeah.
well. Um, but the youth has always been something that has been very near and dear here. And I'm interested to hear from your point of view.
Mhm.
Why the youth? Why do we put so much into the youth versus, I don't know, versus like other charitable events or other events that, you can do.
So I'll say that it has been happening since before my time as well. Um, and I want to say it's particularly because of the path that our president, Francisco,
Mhm.
took. Right, started Franco Trucking at the age of 18, I believe, and I think he had gotten some help from people in the industry, along with people at, his old high school, that kind of assisted him, put some,
Got it.
contacts together, gave him a little push, and I think that meant a lot to him at that time, that, him being such a young entrepreneur, getting that help, getting that little push, just,
Mhm.
you know, allowed him to be where he's at now, and where we are, as a company. So I think I think that's one of the biggest reasons why, we focus so much on the youth because we want to inspire, um, the youth into an industry that for a lot of people is untapped,
Yeah.
and unknown, and it's such a good industry to be in.
No, I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, I just wanted to hear it 'cause I mean, obviously, I know where, like, it aligns with things that I really enjoy. It aligns with how I wanna give back as well,
Right.
so it just and I think it aligns with how you wanna give back,
Yeah.
and I think it's one of those things I just wanted to know kinda where that came from,
That's where it
to
came
kind of
from,
see.
and I try to push back or not try to push back. I try to, provide that as well because at least I see the help that I got as well
Mhm.
from, mentors or people that
Right.
I looked up to while I was in high school, college, and it is a good feeling to know that, you're getting some help from people much,
Mhm.
in a better position than you are.
Well, yeah, shout out to all the mentors, but yeah, but we so a few of the things that and kinda why I wanted to bring it up is, a f there's a organization that we partner with almost every year. This year we
Mhm.
did a little bit more in my opinion than we've done in the past. I know you've done the internship before, but more than at least since I've been here,
Right.
that we've done. And that organization, shout out to EXP. I think for us, that organization has been it's the organization that Francisco was with when he was in high school. I got to be a part of it when I was in high school as well. I don't know if were you when
I
they had it at
wasn't.
yours?
I
No,
wasn't.
but
I don't think they were expanded
yeah,
that far
got
yet.
it, got it. Yeah. So I think that organization is kind of it's been going for quite some time now, where it offers high school students, juniors in particular, the opportunity to go get an internship, go
Yeah.
work somewhere, go get some experience, go talk to mentors, talk to people, and get your foot in the door where it comes to just um, the workforce, right?
Yeah.
So I got to be a part of it, but Francisco did as well, and this year, we got the opportunity to get an intern as well. So we got an opportunity to be that company, to be that mentor for a student. And um, I'll give you, I mean, my points of it. I think he had to do some sort of project or presentation at the end of his time with us, and he had to kind of talk about what the company was, how he felt about the industry, how he felt the culture of the company was, and for me, that was a really big, it was a really nice thing to hear how a high schooler sees your business and
Right.
sees how you guys
That's a
operate, and I
great
think that was a
perspective.
really cool, uh you don't hear it that often, right? Because you
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 don't.
you think that you're doing a great job, or you think that you're, maybe areas that you can improve on, or maybe you ask your staff, but someone that was here for a few weeks, high school student, just what's their take? How did they enjoy it? Did they enjoy it? Did they hate it?
Mhm.
I think that was pretty cool for me to kinda just hear. I personally, that was my favorite part of having
And
it.
and I think the interesting part about it too is that it's a different generation,
Yeah,
giving you this I wouldn't say criticism, but this
it's
perspective, this look at your company, and it's really good to see what other generations are thinking, right? Like how they're thinking and what they see, what they value, and I
yeah.
think that was an interesting take on the experience as a whole.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was really cool, and then we also got to do obviously, we did some job fairs with EXP, and that allowed us to go out and I think inform, for the most part. That's the way I took it. Just go out there, talk to a bunch of students, and really give them information on what opportunities lie in the industry, on
Yeah.
on things that maybe they're not hearing. And the reason I say that is because I got the opportunity to go to a few university graduations last year, or this year in June, and in when it came down to the supply chain or logistics degrees, I only remember 2 people that were, like, if they were
In that field.
in that field, so
Wow.
that kind of, like, it drew me back a little bit to go, "Man, this is." And then I think about when I was in high school and when I was in college, like, when I don't remember ever anyone
Mhm.
saying, "Hey, logistics is kinda there, like, it's an
Right.
option, it's an opportunity."
and I don't think I would have gotten into the industry without, you know, the people I met along the way. Like,
Mhm.
just coming out of high school and college, I don't think I would have just I'm gonna go straight into transportation or
Right.
logistics. I saw an opportunity where, you know, I I I looked at it as a outdated industry where there's
Or
so
I get
much untapped potential.
right.
And yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so that's kind of the way I take it when I go when we do these job fairs is really giving the opportunity to talk about the industry and inform people about the industry. And you really got to do something pretty cool,
yeah.
which was you got to do a panel.
Yeah, I was in a panel of 3 for 2 different sessions of students. And, like you mentioned, it really had to do with just informing, the students on what the industry is, what to expect, answer questions that, they may have about the job, not just in warehousing and trucking, but I sat next to other panelists that were in different, um, walks of life in the same industry, right? A lawyer being one of them, another person being part of the maritime, side of
Mhm.
things, not with land.
Mhm.
Um, so it was interesting meeting great people and just, getting the chance to sit with them and see how they express themselves about the industry as well and how they answer certain questions and believe me or n these students had some really tough questions. They had some
Actually,
really tough questions.
going into that, there was a question that was asked that I think would be actually a really good question to answer here. Is someone asked, how do you with the amount of like companies out or a lot of companies in the industry, what sets you apart? How do you set yourself apart from the rest of the competition?
I don't like being put on the
I
spot.
know, but these I'm telling you, they asked some pretty good
They
questions,
did.
and I think it's only right to
It
answer the
is,
questions.
it is. I mean, I would say it I don't think I answered this question in particular. I think one of the other panelists did. But if I was asked this question, I would say the family-oriented, um, the family-oriented organization that we really value here,
Mhm.
given that it is a family-owned business, um,
Yeah, no, that's a big
but having the feeling of family and I think that goes a long way too. That's I think that sets us apart and why how we do things and stuff.
well, and interestingly also is I think what we do really well. So speaking kind of on the competition or, the competitors that we have or people in the industry that are doing what we're doing, I think what we do really well with is we cooperate a lot with a lot of our competitors, if you would call it, right? I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's an industry that we're all trying to move through together. And I know we've done a lot of and had a lot of opportunities for projects that we're doing and maybe necessarily we don't have the full space, but we go and we talk to another warehouse.
Right.
They may have some additional space. We kind of bind together to go ahead and
Hmm.
and help this customer with this larger project.
Right.
So I think aside from just setting ourselves apart from competition, I think it's a very very connected industry,
Definitely.
at least for us.
Yeah. No. I mean, one of the things we say around here in the South Bay is if never burn your bridges because you never know. Um,
That's
that's a really big thing around here, um, because just the industry is just it's so big, but it's so small here,
yeah.
everyone kinda knows each other in the industry, and again, I think that's the same reason why we treat things like family,
Mhm.
we consider those brothers and sisters. We may be, you know, fighting at one point, but, at the end of the day, we know we love
Mhm.
each other and, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of how we kinda do our business you treat everyone like family.
Yeah, and it just goes back to, I mean, partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Everything that we do is we treat everything like a partner. Whether you're a vendor, you do similar things that we
Yeah.
do. You're a customer, whatever the case is.
Hopefully, it's not a dysfunctional family. That's
Well, some, I wouldn't call it a family, but dysfunctional relationships sometimes.
Mm.
All right, and then, the last thing I wanted to talk about, honestly, is the Franco Scholarship. I think
Yeah.
that thing is something that I didn't expect, and I think it's something that I mean, it's first time, right?
First time.
So,
Yeah.
what exactly is the Franco? Because I know you got to go present it, you got to go talk to to the students. So why don't you give us a little bit about what that experience was like?
So the Franco Scholarship was put on this year. This is the first year that we've ever given it out, and we want to continue doing so and hopefully expand on it, kind of like how EXP
Mhm,
expanded on the youth. It's a way for us to give back to the community in a way where we felt, at least myself and others in the organization, um, that really allowed us to propel and expose ourselves to going to college and getting education and so on and so on. So it's pretty much a scholarship that we're offering high school seniors to provide funds for their higher education. Um, whether it be books,
mhm,
paying tuition, so on and so on. This year I think we only gave it to 2 students,
mhm,
and I'm hoping that it either stays the same or gets larger. And if it stays the same in quantity, hopefully larger in the funds, and so on. But yeah, I mean, one of the big components to it, when we were drawing up the criteria on the Franco scholarship was being well rounded. That was a huge thing, at least for me going in high school, uh, was students that were able to be well academically and still participate in clubs, sports,
mhm.
volunteer work, and all that sort of thing. So we focused a lot on that, and we got some great applicants. Believe it or not, it was really tough choosing,
Yeah,
the
I
winners, and
remember
and
that.
and the other part was that we didn't choose the winners, our staff did.
Yeah, that was
That
really cool.
was that was really cool. So, I think it gave our staff to the opportunities to be a part of this Franco scholarship. Again, transcending on that family aspect of things is, we want everyone to kind of be involved in these big moves that we make, and being our staff being part of that, I think played such a big role in selecting these winners, and
Yeah,
we
no, that
hope to
was
do that
fun.
again,
That
honestly.
was fun for sure, because it really just then everybody's like, "Well, no, this person," and then
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, no, this person." And you guys get to kind of, pitch your pitch who you think is better suited. It was a really cool experience, and the cool thing about what you got to do is you got to give this to your high school.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
that was
that like, to I mean and I'll let you, kinda talk a little bit about that, but that would be huge, like, if like, having the ability to you went to that school, you dealt with what those kids dealt with, and now you're in a position to give back, and I think that's huge. That's a pretty good accomplishment if you ask me.
yeah, I mean, um, this is something, we had been wanting to do for a while now, and we talked to the principal, being the same principal that I had when I
Mhm.
was going there,
Look at that.
and she brought up the opportunity, and it was at one of the
My principal
EXP
would have
events.
no idea who I am.
No, see, I was
No,
involved, I'm telling you, I
joking.
was involved. Uh,
My principal would have no idea who I am.
um we were at an EXP event, and our principal kind of saw us, and caught up a little bit on life and how things were going. She knows what we've been at, what we've been doing in the industry, in terms of work. And she said, like, uh, what is it called? The senior night. Senior
Mm,
night is coming up, and this is the thing where we did at our school, where that's where awards would be given, all the accolades that students have
mhm.
done over the years, will get presented, along with the scholarships that they got throughout the year, and so on. So she said, I think it'd be great if you guys, some way, some form, are part of this. And we just came up on the spot with the idea of a scholarship, and she said
That's
that'd
pretty
be
cool.
great. So we got together, we started brainstorming back and forth on how to do it, how to go about it, and we really got their support in doing so as well because we didn't know where to start, and
Yeah.
that was great. That was a great experience to be a part of it, and then go there personally and present it. I think that was a great thing, and um, I think going into it, I expected like more staff to remember us and
You walk
stuff,
in like you're
and
pretending like you're like, "Oh,
like
hey
like I'm
guys,
walking in, I'm famous here, and then that wasn't the case at all.
He knows any idea who you are. I'm telling you, I'd go to my principal and he'd be like, "You came here, huh?" I'm like, "I sure did."
But yeah, no, that was interesting, but it was still a really great
Yeah,
experience
no, that's
overall.
gotta be cool. It's gotta be cool. I mean, it felt good just on my side, just seeing it happen and being a part of that. So I can only imagine, how it felt for you. So that's pretty cool. But I think, all in all, I mean, the the gist of it, of this episode, I think was really just to kind of let people know that it's important to talk to the young, the young people coming into the
Yeah.
workforce. At the end of the day, we're they're the next ones coming in, and I think it's important to give them as much info and really try to make logistics or let them know how interesting and opportunistic logistics can really be.
Yeah. And to offer them the support,
Yeah,
I think that's a big part of it too, is just the support, the backing, and the little push, the motivation to continue, higher education,
yeah,
and you know don't be scared of the industry.
yeah. All right, man. Well, I think that's gonna go ahead and conclude this episode of the LTL podcast. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in with us and being here with us for another week.
Another great episode, I would say.
I mean, we're biased, but we're for sure it's definitely a good one. All right, we'll see you guys in the next one. All right.
You guys take
Bye.
care.